Here is your challenge assignment for this week. I'm going to do a test movie and then I'll do a quick walkthrough on the file, but I will not be doing step by step in this particular video. So let me start with this finished file and trying test movie. Okay, so there it is in my browser. And basically I've got an animated element over here with three elements that animate, some start and stop buttons down here for the three elements. And you notice the buttons are animated. And I have a little, this is actually a button up here as well that I'll have you make, which says, hello, my name is, and when you mouse over it, your name actually flies in and sits on screen until you mouse away. So that will be a button with an animation inside. These will also be buttons with animations. So let me go one at a time here. And I would like you to recreate these as close as possible visually. So this one has the four dots animating at the top. The fill color is a gradient, and it's a radial gradient to start with and turns to a linear gradient when I mouse over. I do want you to do that. And I want you also to add the animation of the four dots sequencing at the top. All right. So each one of these has that same four dots, so you can leverage that one sort of micro movie clip, if you will, inside of the buttons. Okay. And there we go. These are the stop buttons, so let me click them one at a time. This one will have the background of the clock fluctuate through a series of 4, 5, or 6 colors over, let's say, 20 or 30 seconds. You will do that with a shape tween. The red block at the bottom is the stop, and it will stop the playhead. So this basically starts the playhead. This stops the playhead. Now what this animation actually is a movie clip. And inside of that movie clip, it has three children. There's no nesting beyond that level, but I have three separate movie clips inside of this movie clip called clock. And one of them is the background changing colors. The other one are these two dials. And if I click here, the white dial rotates. The axis, of course, is in the middle here. And that white dial is rotating, I believe, 3 seconds for one full rotation. The black shorter dial is rotating over 6 seconds for one full rotation. Okay, and they can both run at the same time, and we can also have the colors going simultaneously. They run independently of each other, and I can stop them all with their unique stop buttons. Okay, again, a button at the top that has your name fly in. When you mouse away, the name disappears. Your main animation element will be over here, and your three sets of buttons down here. Okay, so let's take a look at the file itself. And I'll just call up my timeline. On the main timeline here, it's all running in one frame. I have one layer for my actions, one layer for my buttons, and one layer for the clock. This is actually an extra layer, which I'll delete here. Okay, so 3 layers, one for the code, one for the buttons, and one for the clock. And I guess conceivably I could have put all the content on the one layer, but I chose to pick 2 different layers. Okay, so let's talk about these buttons really fast. I'll start with the hello, my name is. I'm going to double click it, and you can see here that the normal state is just that text. When I click on the overstate, this is the animation in a movie clip, and the movie clip sits up here. It will span right to the hit zone. And if I double click that movie clip, you can use a variety of tween types if you like. I, in this case, used a motion tween, but a classic tween will work just fine for this as well. So this text here as well is a movie clip so that I can animate it, in this case, using a motion tween. If you keep it as text, I believe you can animate it in a shape tween, but if not, just use a classic tween. Okay, and then I do have a stop command. I'll pop open my actions right here. I have a stop command at the end of that frame so that it stays in place until I mouse away. So once again, let me just go into that back up here and then back to the button. You probably will be prudent to keyframe a nice large block area as the trigger for your button. Okay, that way it will respond fairly quickly in this whole area that you see as green. So that's the trigger. Okay, and let's get out of that button. The others work pretty well the same. But on these ones, I just have the trigger is the same, so I didn't need to extend that out. I have a movie clip here, and it's this tiny little guy here, which you can repurpose. Okay, in my library, let's see here. I think it's the one called Circle. No, just hang on a second here. Dots, sorry, dots. Okay, and if I double click that, it's just a series of still frames, spanning 5 frames each, and it does disappear for the 5 frames, so it looks like it click, 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 and then it's gone, and it starts all over again. All right, and that can be used in all 3 buttons. Okay, and you just have to position it. Same thing over here, so we got the triangle, and then we got the triangle fill color, which is just a slightly darker version. Here is the same common movie clip sitting in an extra layer above. And again, if I double click that movie clip, you can see that it's just stop frame animation, frame by frame, with an added dot in each of these frames, and then they all disappear for 5 frames, and we start all over again. Okay, and this black button is exactly the same as that. There we go. Darker color there. And these red buttons are even more simple. Just have the stroke changing color when you mouse over it. Okay, so those are all the buttons. Of course, they all have instance names. Let me go over to my properties. You can see the instance names up here. Try to come up with a reasonable naming convention. So everything. Now this doesn't have an instance name because that's only a button triggering. It's not actually causing any actions. So it's just running at its default button state, if you will. Let's go over to the big animated piece here, which I've called clock_MC as an instance name. Let me double click on that, and here is the structure inside of that. Again, 3 separate layers with a movie clip on each. None of these have any more nesting, so really go back to scene 1. There's your top level in that movie clip. If I double click it, we're down to sort of level 2 with 3 distinct movie clips in there. Okay. Circle is that one. If I go into the circle, it's just a shape tween going between colors. So match the first frame and the last frame so that it doesn't have a jarring change and creates a seamless loop. Okay, let's go back up to the clock. On the white level, it's the white dial. And I just created, the dial has to be a movie clip so that you can access the frame properties here to create a rotate. That will work both on a motion tween as well as a classic tween. Okay, so you go there and 1 keyframe at the end for that full rotation. Same idea on the black dial, exactly the same idea, except you can see here this spans longer. So this one's going almost 5 seconds. And I think I asked for you to make it 6 seconds. So let me just push that out with my F5 key to the 6-second mark. And we'll go back and review the duration for the white one. And I said that one should be 2 seconds. If I said 3, I'm actually going to change that to 2. So I'm just going to push that out there. Save my file. Small tweaking, but I do want you to have, basically I want the white dial to go a lot faster than the black dial. Okay, so you know what, let's go back up and take a look at the code. I'm going to go back up the clock for a second though, and just remind you that these elements also have instance names, right? So the black dial, I just got BLK_MC, kept it simple, WHT_MC, and the big circle, which is the colors changing, Circle_MC. All right, so that's inside of the clock, right? Each of these 3 elements do have an instance name, and that's required, of course, to address their timelines using the code. So we'll go back right up to scene 1 again and talk a little bit about the code, I'll open up my actions panel here. And let's see here. All right. So the main code here on frame 1, scene 1, so I've got a lot of comments here, is basically, you know, on mouse click, you're going to control the various timelines, and it's just play and stop commands. So I'll remind you to stop any element, they're inside of the clock, and then they each have their unique instance names as well. So if I wanted to address the circles, the color changing, this would be the pathway. Okay, you'll use your wizard. We've done this pathway stuff in a previous lesson, so if you need to return to it, please do, but here's the essence of it right here. So each of these 3 elements within the clock will be controlled with this pathway. Clock underscore MC dot, and then the particular movie clip nested inside of the clock. So that's for the circle, and if I go down here, this one's for the black dial. And if I go down a little further, this would be for the white dial. Okay, but you can see here we're given instructions to the playhead, which is currently inside of this movie clip, which is inside of this movie clip. So the clock is the parent of the dials and the color element, but the clock is still a child of the scene 1 timeline. Okay, so pretty basic stop and play commands there. Again, I use the wizard to create those. All right, so that is your challenge assignment for today. And when you're done that, just hand in your FLA file on Canvas.